One key component of this, I think, is the role of the media. This is connected to, of course, artificial intelligence. And on the one hand, we live in a society, and this is a positive, where people can go to different sources, different media outlets to look for information. This is great, and this is very valuable and needs to be appreciated for what it is. But another component of that has to be discernment and critical engagement with what we're reading, whether we're exposing ourselves to different points of view, and actually critically interpreting the information that has been given to us. I think that's one of the challenge that's facing our society. It will only be exacerbated with the advent of artificial intelligence. Hard for me to speculate how that will develop, but it becomes clear that even in the last 2 or 3 years, artificial intelligence went from a very specific tool used by a small group of people to just being much more public and much more popular amongst the public. And just like any other tool, it can be helpful, but it can also be dangerous depending on the use. So I see that as a major challenge, one that has to be addressed not just in the academic community, but at every level of education, starting with elementary school probably and going forward. I think one of the key challenges when talking about trust is, first of all, I guess the answer will be twofold. Understanding the dynamics behind it. So why is trust important? And the answer to that, it's one of the key currencies that allows democracy to flourish and actually operate. So some levels of trust are indispensable between citizens and politicians, but also in everyday interactions. And that's a given, but at the same time, we also have this element of irrational trust or unconditional trust, which can be abused by an asymmetrical relationship. For example, when a politician is bestowed this kind of unconditional trust, he or she can take it in the authoritarian direction, so to speak. But another challenge, I think, connected to it is understanding what causes trust to go up or down, how to foster it, essentially how to measure it and how to understand its internal dynamic. So I think a key component of our project has been measuring trust conceptually, empirically, statistically, but from the point of view of both quantitative and qualitative methods to provide a new theoretical foundation for what trustworthiness is and why they matter. The project itself has been an amazing academic endeavor. Intellectually, of course, having the opportunity to engage in a very pressing topic and to see how patterns of trust differ based on geographical location, based on quality of democracy per se, or I should say experience with democracy, depending on the region. So there are many fruitful empirical avenues that will be pursued. I'm convinced of that going forward for months and years to come. But also personally, as a younger scholar, as a scholar who's still at the beginning stages of my career, having the opportunity to learn from my more senior colleagues, seeing how they approach with intellectual curiosity, but also empirical rigor, and these kind of important questions has been something that will stay with me forever, and that's something I'll always appreciate as well. Trust and trustworthiness are not the same. One is more of a capital, the other one is more of a relationship. And that's one of the themes that's emerging. And trust as a currency in political life, it can go up or it can go down, but it doesn't correlate with the things that we thought it correlates. For a long time, and maybe I'm speaking just from my own perspective, I had this more simplistic view of trust, but it turns out that many different control variables from social demographics matter for how people perceive trust, what they can do about trust and how they can foster trust going forward. On the one hand, citizens look at politicians, see what they promised, and citizens evaluate whether promises were kept and the outcomes were delivered. And so that's one obvious avenue for building a trustful society. But also from the point of politicians, I think, creating a program, creating a transparent political program, and one that's feasible, right? One that's realistic, with a real opportunity to be fulfilled. And if it materializes, being able to say, yes, we delivered, or even if we didn't deliver, we at least attempted to deliver, but the unforeseen obstacles have emerged, as opposed to saying, I will deliver X, Y, and Z without any intention of doing so. I think that's one of the pitfalls of modern society and modern politics, where politicians tend to overpromise and underdeliver, which kills this important currency of trust, and actually this relationship, this intimate relationship between citizens and politicians that allows democratic society to function properly. It's going to sound straightforward, but I think politicians, and I'm thinking really about Polish example here, but not just the Polish example, have a very difficult time, if not impossible time, of admitting to a mistake. So it's never their fault, even if it's clear that it is their fault. And I think counterintuitively, being transparent and honest about one's failure as a politician is a very immediate, very robust, and very genuine way to build trust, actually. Because if I'm able to say, I promised this policy, this outcome, this project, but I failed to do so, my bad, I apologize, we'll do better. But at the same time, I explain what happened. It was a genuine attempt to do so. I think a lot of people would resonate with that. As opposed to, I think we're getting into this also very contentious dynamic of, well, we didn't do it, but the other side was even worse. And is this spiral of conflict that doesn't get us anywhere and actually builds resentment, polarization, ineffective politics, really.